and listen to them again. You never tire of them. They're so amazingly honest and on point. He was something else. All right, I'll be right back in just a minute with George. Okay, we're back with George Ewer of halfpasthuman.com. Dave Lindorf wrote today, "Kiss the banks goodbye and refocus on rebuilding the American people." He said the futility and stupidity of the feds and the Obama administration's policy of pumping ever more money into failing banks and insurance companies in a vain effort to get them lending again was demonstrated, if anybody was paying attention, by the collapse of auto sales during the past month, with all the leading companies, Ford, GM, and Toyota, reporting sales down by about 40%. George, it's going to be a long time before this thing normalizes, and when it does normalize, it will be largely unrecognizable from what it was 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, but there are solutions out there. That's the good news.
There are solutions, but there are no people in positions of authority to implement them. It's not going to happen.
We don't need people in positions. See, there you go. You missed the whole point of bobsled.
That was in quotes. You know, I'm talking always in quotes here. This is, look, we are the authority.
That's
Unfortunately, the authority has been largely emasculated, feminized, spayed, and neutered by a very careful program of government school education, inoculations with vaccines, toxic food, fluoridated water, and all the rest of the things that you folks know about, and George certainly knows as well as anybody. We don't have a populace that we did 50 years ago. These people are walking around bent on self-gratification, utterly involved with themselves. Narcissism is running rampant in this country. They have no idea what reality is, and they're always looking for the next good time. And I'm not being, again, totally dismissive of all young people, but the majority seem to be very easily put in that category.
I can't disagree with you. However, like I say, there may be some good news. When people get hungry, they change behaviors.
Yeah, they start rioting and killing and burning and stealing and looting.
Yes, yeah, that's going to be.
They don't run to the ballot box.
Well, yeah, the ballot box is a little too slow when you're hungry. But what's really interesting, I was talking to a client. I do consulting and strategic planning and so forth. Mm-hmm. I got a client up in the Cincinnati area who has told me that he found 75 acres in a neighboring state to Ohio that's good mix of woodlands and tillable farmland with water on the property, $40,000 for 75 acres. Now that, to my way of thinking, is one of the things that we could be focusing on and maybe should talk a little bit about. And it's the whole concept of re-pioneering. You know, Cliff has explained Bog's life, right? Beyond government systems, beyond organizations, government systems, and all that, right? Mm-hmm. When these land prices come down, and I am hearing similar things out of places like western Oklahoma, land prices are starting to collapse in some places. And where that's starting to happen, you can hit Craigslist and so forth. You can find some what are turning into genuine bargains. And by the time we get down to the bottom of this pit, which probably will be, maybe if we're lucky, mid-2010.
Maybe if we're lucky, wow.
Yeah. And when we get there, though, the key thing is going to be if you've got a couple of maybe gold coins, or if you've got some money saved up, you might be able to get literally the deal of the lifetime on something like 10 acres that you could live on if you had to.
Sure.
And people, I know that sounds really extreme, but it didn't sound as extreme when I just said it as when I said it before, 500,000 people moved into tents under freeway overpasses over the past 10 years.
How many?
At least 500,000.
Oh.
I mean, you've seen the pictures out of California.
Oh, yeah.
That has somewhat improved in some areas because people are starting to find that they don't need to have 5,000 square foot McMansions, and that maybe the folks in Asia who had 5 people living in a couple of 100 square feet might have been onto something. I mean, you don't have to go so far as to be hot sheeting it, where one person wakes up and another person takes over the warm bed.
Yep.
But the other side of it is, it really does squander resource when we go out and buy excess capacity cars, excess capacity homes, eat processed food that everybody knows is bad, but damn, we're just so busy, Jeff.
Maybe this will all eventually turn into some kind of a benefit for people who are intelligent enough to seize reality and make something good of their lives.
Exactly. There's always lemonade to be made from these lemons.
What did you call that? Hot sheeting?
Yeah, hot sheeting.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's an old firehouse term.
Mm-hmm.
Refers to a situation like on some Navy ships during World War II, they didn't have enough bunks, and so one guy'd get up to go on watch, and the other guy would take over that bunk until it was time for him to go on watch.
Got it. All right, so we're talking a year and a half here, if we're lucky.
No, maybe 2.5.
Figure better 2.5. That's more realistic.
Yeah, I mean that's enough time to at least keep your hopes up.
Virtually nobody, when you take the totality of the society, virtually no one has food put away. I mean, it's a fraction of a %.
Oh, sure.
That's it.
And can I tell you another interesting little data point? There's a church up in the Carrollton, Texas area, up around Dallas. Heard from a friend of mine who keeps in close touch with the evangelical crowd, tells me that the pastor in front of this large church in Carrollton, which has, we're talking a super church, right? Thousands of members and several,
a corporation.
Well, not quite, but a big church. He got up and told all of his people last week or the week before that they needed to have at least 30 days of food for their whole family and their neighbors.
More than that, but sure.
I mean, but it's interesting. It's interesting because the LDS folks have had that as a basic tenet forever, and now it's starting to become apparent to people that maybe we are going to have runaway inflation in food prices and almost giveaway prices on cars,
right?
Because of how crazy this economy has indeed become.
2.5 years. It's going to be interesting to see how complete the transition from what things were to what they're going to be, whatever that is, will be in the next 2.5 years. And we also want to remind people, and you've certainly talked about this, Cliff has talked about it, there is always great opportunity in times of strife and grief.
Right.
I don't mean people to get in there and manipulate and take from people what's not theirs, but I'm talking about entrepreneurial spirit and wisdom and inventiveness and creativity. There are going to be tremendous opportunities, folks. So, and I hope all of you think about this at least a little bit.
And a key part of that, Jeff, is to learn to get control of your media sources.
Oh, yeah.
If you're watching more than, I would say, if you watch more, as a generalization, more than 1 hour of TV per day, you are causing harm to yourself.
Yes, sir. Very, very well said and absolutely true. And I pulled the cable on mine literally 21 years ago. I don't have it. I do not have television. I have DVDs and things like that. People send me things to look at all the time. But I will not have commercial television in my home.
Not a bad call. Do you have a shortwave radio?
No. I do. It's in a box. I don't use it. But I don't have time for that. I've got the Internet right now.
Well, If you've got the Internet, there's no better source for news.
No. Of course.
And you've seen that just last week the Rocky Mountain News went out of business.
That's going to be many more. Most newspapers are already bankrupt.
Well, and the reason for it is they can't compete on an efficiency basis with websites like yours, like mine, where we've got readers that are sending in news tips, which we can confirm.
That's right.
We can all read the same crap reports from
I don't look at the majors.
Sources.
I don't look at the majors. All they do is parrot what they're told to do. Basically, there's no real research and journalism going on there.
Exactly.
You won't find that on my site very often at all, unless it's some overridingly important story, and then I'll put it up there. But I won't copy any of the others. We do what you do, and that's unique. We create our own reality of news and honest journalism to the best of our ability, and people respond to it. They're there. They want that reality.
Well, the reason they want the reality is because they ain't getting it elsewhere. I mean, no. I don't think that alternative news sites like mine or yours would even be around if the mainstream was doing a credible job of saying, no, this is a crap number. We're not buying it. How can you count all these unemployed folks?
Very correct. Very good point. You're right.
You know, if journalists in the mainstream would stand up and ask tough questions and not take no for an answer. But they're not willing to, because it's all about ratings and appearance of people on TV, and galvanic skin response means more than IQ.
Sure. Yeah. And it's beyond that, too. With the advent of digital television, the ability to control hundreds of millions of people and billions of people literally around the world will be a fait accompli. It's right there. These people are really smart. They're 10, 20 years ahead of us in terms of what we as a populace think their technology can do. They're way out there.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. And the best thing to do is avoid their technology. I have a cell phone, but I don't use it for reasons that I think you're pretty clear on.
Oh, yes, indeed. I absolutely agree. George, that's our hour. Let's do it again pretty soon. Thanks
We'll
so
do it.
much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay. Good night. Mr. George Ewer, who, along with Cliff High, offers the world halfpasthuman.com.